So we're live already.
I just put us live right now.
Okay.
Which means it just starts recording.
Unless so there's no one actually watching this?
Or power switch. Yeah.
Wow, we got to find the live link for this. The link.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Might have to go to my hangout page. Here, I'll share this page with you.
Carrying on. Oops.
How's everybody doing?
All right.
That was a little painful to get started.
Yeah.
We're just fixing my room setup here. Oh, here's a links section. There's probably a public link in here.
Can you
Yeah, here we go.
reconnect? Sure.
Sure.
I don't know why it's not.
I don't hear any volume. Can someone say something? Just a little test.
Check, 1, 2.
Thanks, Joe. All my volume's being routed out through this.
This is usually HDMI. You need the DVI then. Anyone have a DVI adapter? Someone run downstairs to grab one? Thank you.
Okay, I gotta message the list with this link.
Right, and you killed the video.
YouTube that? You got it from what I just posted?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm tweet it.
We gotta send an email out with it. How many do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we could probably have one more viewer participant. Anyone else?
Anise?
Anise is in here.
Okay.
Is Nikhil in here?
Microsoft?
Jason's in here. Yeah.
Yeah, Nikhil, Jason, and Resurge are all here.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so you're not using
No, we don't need
so everyone else needs to be muted before that.
that. Yeah, we'll use my screen and everyone will be in it. Okay. A little closer, Jesse. Did we send out the public viewing link on the list?
Not yet.
Once we get that going, I think we can start this. I'm just gonna send it out.
I got it.
You got it? All right. And how about I move this forward? All right, I think we can start. Let's start with a quick intro. I know there's a lot of us in here. I recognize most of you. It's always good to start. I'm Steve. I work at Adobe, mainly on Cordova CLI stuff, Cordova tools.
Jesse, Apache Cordova, also on the Adobe PhoneGap team.
Jazz, Adobe, on Cordova iOS.
We got a new intern here.
Hi, Julia, Adobe intern. I'm working on the PhoneGap team.
We have one more intern. I don't know where she went though,
She ran to get a DVI.
but
Yeah,
we'll see her in a bit. Next, who else wants to go?
I'll go. I'm Joe. I'm up in Vancouver. Work at Adobe, Apache Cordova, all the Androids. Well, not all the Android stuff. A lot of the Android stuff, and I'm also on the PhoneGap team.
Hey, Tony Homer. I work at Intel. Right now I'm working on bringing in the screen orientation plugin. I work a little bit every once in a while on iOS or Android, a very little bit.
Hi, this is Carrie Schatz. I am a moderator on the PhoneGap and Adobe forums, and also an IT consultant.
I'm Jason Intro. I'm on the team at Microsoft.
Hey, I'm Richard. I'm on the cordova team at Microsoft as well.
Hi, I'm Nikhil. I'm the engineering manager for the Cordova runtime team at Microsoft.
Hi, I'm Karen. I work at IBM and I'm on the mobile first and Cordova team.
Hi, my name is James. I also work at IBM and I work on the Horse, Cordova, and tooling team.
Anyone else left? We have the second entrance here, Karen.
I'm Karen.
I believe Vladimir is joining from Russia as well.
Yeah, I see Vlad.
Yeah.
All right, shall we get started? So there is an agenda. It's very sparse.
Yes.
I think we want to try and get a little better at doing these again. Try to do once a month. Yeah, Shaz, come on in here. Let's just get started with the agenda that we have right now, and then we can talk about at the end of this how we can do these more often. If you don't have the link to the agenda, I think it was posted on the list, but I'll share it on Slack, in the Cordova Slack as well, just in the Hangouts channel. So I think we're going to start with a little roadmap, kind of what's next for Android and iOS, and I don't know if we want to do a Windows portion of that as well.
Sure.
Maybe we could start with Android. Joe, do you want to talk about that?
Okay, so there's a few things that are coming up for Android. One of the first things is multi-window. That's actually not breaking any APIs, so I think we'll see that sooner rather than later. The other things that do break APIs are things that allow native devs to use Cordova. So that would be things like fixing the bridge. Right now, our bridge is in thread safe, so if you use multiple web views, you'll have bad times. So we changed up a bridge with comparable performance. It seems to be the same performance actually, and we have the branch ready to go, and we want to put that and set it as the default bridge for 6.0. The other things that we have going on are we want to change how plugins work for Android. So right now we just do this really hokey thing where we copy Java files over and hope for the best. And everything's kind of a complete disaster when it comes to more complex plugins. We want to try and clean that up by actually allowing us to copy over modules so that we can have native tests, and if the modules have their own assets or weird binary things, that they can have them there as well, or their own weird Gradle dependencies, they can go fetch them that way too. So that's kind of the goal with that, is to get that happening as well. And there's other changes further down the road, but I think that's it for now for the Android side. Is there anything else anyone wants to add to that?
Nothing? All right, move on.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Joe, does any of that depend on N? or is that all stuff that would work with Marshmallow?
I think everything works in Marshmallow. I mean, except for the end changes where we change the manifest and add a variable or something. But, you know, that's about it.
Thanks.
Also, you said the multi-threaded support, the new Bridge Visual support multi-threading. Does that change our min version requirements or something, Brian? Like, or is it going to be supported till, I believe, what's our current min version for Android?
Oh, yeah! It doesn't change your min version. Actually, yeah, you're right. It does change your min version requirements, but we were going to do it anyway. We're dropping ice cream sandwich because people wanted to drop ice cream sandwich, and Crosswalk dropped ice cream sandwich, so it's time to drop ice cream sandwich anyway. Actually, wait. Maybe it does also impact some of Jelly Bean. I might have to check that again. I think there's like a compatibility thing we're adding for lower versions of Android. Like, yeah, but I'll have to look into that again. I think it defaults to a non-thread safe bridge, but it's still okay. I'll have to talk to Simon, who also worked on this, who's not here right now.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and the directory structure change is just on hold for now, right? Chatting about it a bit.
Yeah, the directory structure change, I think we're going to wait on that until we get the library change happening, since otherwise we're going to head into some pretty bad times.
Yeah. And that library change, so we're going to be updating pretty much all of our plugins, and then we're going to be encouraging third-party developers to switch, if they're supporting Android, to switch to this tab. I believe that's
right.
Let's move on to iOS. Jazz?
Yeah, so on iOS, for the near term, we've got Julia, who's right behind me, our intern, doing the CocoaPot support. She's proposing, she made some changes to the proposal and Cordova discussed. That's going okay. Some changes we need to do in the near term, like Cordova iOS to support workspaces, because right now it's just a project, Xcode project. And also near term WCAP WebView improvements. I think Ionic wants to help out on that. Long term, working on Cordova iOS 5, which there's a Kanban board with all the outstanding issues from Cordova iOS 4, namely .framework support for Cordova. So Cordova itself can be a .framework. We just need it for some teams. But besides that, just making it stable for now. Unless any of you have ideas for other features for 5. But 4.0 is just mainly the main feature that we want to get in is the CocoaPot support, which with the platform API. So it should be easy to modify. That's it for me. Any comments?
No.
Yeah, I think we're going to be doing a release of iOS shortly, just to have, I know Cordova Common's been updated, so that needs to get out there for Node 6 support.
Yep.
And then I think there's a few other fixes that have landed as well.
Yeah, all minor fixes.
Yeah, and same for Android as well, right?
Yeah, Android's going to need a release soon.
Android needs to release ASAP.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we're going to be getting released very soon.
Or I forgot to mention Cordova iOS. Depends on what they announce at WWDC. I'm sure we'll have more things to tack on to the roadmap based on what Apple says.
As is the case every year.
Yeah.
Has there been any movement on iPad Pro support?
No, it should be in the Cordova iOS 4, one of those fixes. But I know one of it is support for launch storyboard or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no one's working on it, but it should be in the 4.x series before
Okay.
we move on. Cool.
Can anyone else also help me capture notes? I'm taking notes, but I'm not grabbing all the elements.
You have a doc with the notes that you're capturing? Is it just on the
No, no. It's in the agenda itself.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
There's YouTube videos of all this, right?
Yeah, but it's nice to have notes.
Yeah. It'd probably be good to have something go over it, just because a lot of the sound when you're doing this is right.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to Windows. I know it's not on there, but any updates for the Windows platform? Maybe.
I think the one release is coming out right now, right? In the process of voting. And that adds some pretty critical. I think it's drop support for Windows 8. Adds some really nice support for native DLLs as well, like C++ DLLs. I think NuGet was on the backlog, but it's on the roadmap. But support for NuGet, but yeah, we don't have a timeline on that.
Yep. One other thing that we might want to talk about is roadmap for tools, and not just platforms. One thing that's come up is internally at Adobe, other teams are forking platforms to get specific functionality that they want, but our tooling is very much reliant on the names that we've provided for platforms. So I can add a platform from anywhere on my hard drive, but I can't call Cordova build with that platform unless it's either Android, iOS, Windows, or WP8. Right. So I'm going to be making a proposal shortly, which is to make those actual terms generic, and it's actually going to be strapped onto the proposal about versioning and updating of platforms, where we do a non-destructive, create a new platform, and we attach the version number to the older version. So I'm going to be dropping a proposal to do that, and I think that might be something we could discuss here, or we could wait for that proposal to happen.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, right? Generalizing that whole notion of.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I want other teams to push their work back to Cordova, but we need to let people move a little bit on a fork before they come back. Right now, we're very tied to those strings that we specified as what platforms are called.
Makes sense.
That's something that we should definitely allow other people to make their own platforms and have them work with the CLI as long as they implement the platform API. And I've seen an issue with that too, where I think it was Daryl who had he scoped his own version of Cordova Android, released it on npm, but then he couldn't install it because his username / Cordova Android isn't in the platforms list.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Anything else with? So we're going to talk more about tools. I think that's coming up next. I know Vladimir's been doing some more refactoring, moving stuff out of some of the stuff that was common in platforms and moved into Cordova Common. Vlad, do you want to touch on any of the recent changes that you've been doing? I don't know if the lag here is gonna.
Vlad, we're not getting audio.
Yeah, there's no audio.
I'll ping him on Skype.
Well, he unmuted himself, so I think he can hear us.
He's very still. With sunglasses on, he might be sleeping.
You could just chat in the chat window and somebody else could read it.
It's fine. We can move on for now. Oh,
Yeah,
I see his
as
video.
far as I know, I don't think he had any significant.
His video's on. No audio? No, no audio. Don't worry about it, Vlad.
All right.
I've had this issue with Google Chrome before, and you have to like kill some process.
We can come back to it.
Yeah. Don't worry too much about it right now.
Can we just back up to the Windows? What exactly is getting deprecated in Windows, or what support's being removed? Windows 8.0 support.
Windows 8.
So Windows 8.1 is supported, but building for Windows 8 has been deprecated, or had been deprecated for a long time, and the code is now removed.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that I understood correctly. I hadn't looked at the release notes. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then the tools, Jesse, can you? I didn't quite follow the use case that you were describing.
We have instructions of how you can create your own platform. You know, there's certain things that you do. You implement the platform API. You have to respond to certain CLI methods. But one thing that's missing is if throughout our tooling, if all like Cordova platform Android, it knows that that's Cordova-Android in NPM land. Or if you go Cordova platform add to a local repository, it can add it. But when you build, you're actually specifying the string Android, and in this case, you're meaning whatever is installed in platform/Android. But that actual platform has to recognize that string. So it's just making that a little more generic, to where we can have a little bit of competition over platforms, and maybe some forks deviate a little bit and then come back. But right now, there's no easy way to have multiple versions of a platform.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, shall we move on? Move forward here. What's next on the agenda?
In terms of tools, is there more things? I know, Steve, you were working on some Cordova Fetch, the packages.
That's next on the agenda here.
Okay, perfect.
That's what I'll go on. Yeah, so Fetch, with the last tools release, it shipped where it works with plugins and platforms if you use the -- Fetch flag. And then yesterday, Karen, right here, sent a pull request for adding it to template support as well. And then that's why, going through it, we realized there are some issues with how template is implemented. So that's why I kind of revised that discussion. And it looks like there's going to be a proposal that I'll write up about supporting package JSON in templates, because the way it's working right now isn't ideal. Where if you add a template that's on NPM, it'll just take that template's package JSON and copy it into your project, and it doesn't update it at all. So you're not getting, like, the name of the package isn't updated, the version's not updated, and there are definitely use cases when you want that package JSON, and there are use cases when you don't want that package JSON. So it looks like there's a proposal to be made there, so I'll have to write that up. Fetch, now that the template support is going to land here, I think the Fetch proposal is going to be complete. We did deviate a bit off the original proposal I wrote, so I'll have to update the proposal just so everyone can see the changes we made. But that part looks complete, and I don't see us having to make a lot of changes to the Fetch module, so I don't see it having a frequent releases at all. I think it'll probably, once we get maybe another version or two out, it'll be stationary. It'll be unchanged. And then from here on, we can move on to the next step, which will The FET proposal, it started kind of divulging into what the next step is going to be, which is how do we handle a package JSON world now? So the things that I see on the roadmap are introduce steps. Now this is what I would like to see, but this is obviously up for discussion. Introduce steps for having your modules saved in package JSON. So moving some of that save logic we have in config.xml over to package JSON, and that's probably going to be done in phases where it's going to be behind a flag. Maybe when you're doing restore, it looks in package JSON. If it exists in package JSON, use that. If not, look in config.xml, use that. So I'm not planning on ripping out the config.xml save dependency stuff. I'm just planning on adding an alternative to the tools for now. Fetch was built so you can actually use --save and it'll move it into package JSON, but it looks like we're going to have a discussion about how npm install works in this world. Are we going to allow users to use npm install, and is that going to install plugins? And I think there are some valid concerns that were brought up. So I'm not 100% sure that that is going to work. So it'll have to be part of the proposal and the discussions we end up having leading up to it. But I think there's some good progress there. Any comments, discussion, questions? Nothing?
Crickets.
I could talk more about it.
No, I think it sounds good. I think we should just continue discussing on the proposal using the
Yeah, there'll be a new proposal coming out.
Yep.
Yeah, the template one will be a new one, and then there'll be a new one, obviously, around the next steps after fetch, which is, I think, around dependency saving.
Yep. All right.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Anything else in tools land that we can discuss? Nothing that I could think of. Okay. Let's move on. On the agenda here. Sorry. The Jenkins CI setup. You guys want to talk about the Jenkins stuff?
Yeah, I was hoping. I guess Vladimir's audio is out. He was gonna, but I wonder if he can still share his screen, because he was gonna give a walkthrough of we used to have a CI using BuildBot, and our goal is to sort of abandon that and use Jenkins, which can test on per pull request basis. It should make our job of merging pull requests easier, since it'll run tests on all the major platforms and ensure the PR doesn't break it. So that's really the goal of the Jenkins CI that has been built up. So since let me see if Vladimir can share the screen.
It looks like he's sharing it. So is this separate from the nightly work? Is this like its own Jenkins?
Yeah. So the nightly one is on Apache's Jenkins server, and that one doesn't allow to run connect arbitrary hosts or slaves rather, which basically we need to run our Android and iOS tests. And so we ended up hosting one on Azure for now, basically a Jenkins master, and it's connected to a couple of slaves, an iOS one and a Windows one, which is hosted in Microsoft right now. Our goal is the next step that we're looking at is at least the iOS and Android things could run on Sauce Labs, and we don't have to maintain those slaves, and anyone can potentially sort of administer them or make sure it's running fine and things like that. So, and we have a prototype of that already working, and I think in the coming weeks, all of the iOS and Android tests should work on our goal is they should run on Sauce Labs, um, and then we don't have to maintain those machines. Unfortunately for Windows, we'll have to continue maintaining that slave, and that's the start of that. For nightly builds, we're running it on Azure, the Apache Infra's CI, and it just runs node scripts, so it's fairly simple and contained. And it was possible to run it on the slaves itself.
Yeah. And nightlies are being published now to NPM.
Yep. So nightlies are getting published. Yeah. On NPM, I think there's still some stability issues. In fact, I think Cordova lib current master is actually failing test even on Travis CI. And I know, Steve, you were briefly looking at that.
Yeah. Just to talk about that, it looks like Node 6 is failing with a dependency, but when I test it locally, it works. That's the Travis failure. And then the AppVoyeur failure, it's one of the tests that I added in Fetch is not working properly on Windows, so I just removed that test.
Okay.
The pull request still shows everything failing, so I think it just needs to rerun. But the Node 6 failures on Travis, I'm not sure why we're getting those. They don't really make a lot of sense.
I see.
I'll continue investigating today. If anything, I'll make changes to it so at least it gets passing, and then the parts that are failing, we'll figure those out.
Yeah. So I think the nightly process, the way it works is it runs tests on lib and CLI, and then publishes a nightly onto NPM. Now, I think once we make this more stable, we want to just start sort of publicizing it a little bit. I mean, this shouldn't be the way people should try Cordova, but at least if they need a bug fix or things which have been fixed in master, they want to give it a try or take a dependency on that till master gets released. This is a great way for people to do that.
Yeah, and it's a great way to test some of the new features that we have that maybe we're not ready to release.
I think one thing we're gonna start doing in the Visual Studio team, for example, is taking the nightly builds and running our tests on that, so that hey, if there are any breaking changes which come out, it'll be easy to sort of see all the things that we depend on sort of maintain. So yeah, so that's one of the things that'll come out of it. I can assume others who are building on our API and things could also use nightly build and just test against it.
It's a good idea. It's really nice that work's getting completed and up and running. Cool. I think that's everything we had on the agenda.
Yeah, we wanted to figure out is where the notifications for these things should go on the dev list, Slack. Like some of these will hopefully mostly pass, but they'll occasionally fail.
Oh, for the nightlies?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I would recommend not putting any more notifications into Slack, just because we have a 10,000 message limit.
Right.
We're not going to move away from public, so every time I see a notification, I think about some message that's deleted somewhere. So I'd rather leave that to humans to interact and not machines.
So you're saying put it on the mailing list?
Mailing list, I think, would be a better approach.
You can put it on the mailing list, and then we can just tell everyone to set up filters.
Yep.
I mean, that's probably the best thing to do. That's what I've done for most of the
Well, you
traffic.
have to have filters already.
Yeah.
At this point, we generate thousands of emails every day.
Yeah, you definitely need filters.
Yep.
Yeah, probably just a mailing list. I have been seeing it, and I noticed that it was failing.
Don't put a Microsoft header on it, because we don't want it to go to spam.
Yeah.
That's actually made it. That's been a little difficult dealing with those.
We could do RSS because on our private Slack, we get RSS feeds for the nightlies.
What do you mean?
We do.
Oh,
for the nightly posts. Like
PhoneGap?
on
On
NPM.
PhoneGap Slack.
PhoneGap Slack.
Internal.
Yeah, but it still will. I mean, we can easily add it to Slack, but I think Jesse's point is that we lose history.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if we can really value history at this point in Cordova Slack because it's gonna disappear no matter what. Right?
Yeah, and nightly should produce one notification per day. I guess the thing we need to figure out is when we like eventually, hopefully, we can have more people sort of manage some of these systems in the sense that if they fail, and they'll need diagnosis and getting notification of that failure and sort of having a rotation around that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So
I would be fine with Slack, to be honest. I think.
Yeah, if it's only one a day. I mean, I was expecting it to be possibly more. One for each repo. Or
We already do that with Slack in a few different channels. I mean, like tools get posted in the tools channel, like tools pull requests and commits. We kind of already are doing that for a few different channels.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, I know the issues one. If we really need to reduce our reduce the noise in Slack, we could remove the issues thing because the issues one is really noisy.
Yeah, the issues thing, is that the issues channel?
Yes.
Yeah, I never look at it. It's too much.
Yeah, we can drop that one and maybe add.
Yeah, I think that's a good change.
Yeah.
So not to be in the Apache.
Let's open this up to anybody who wants to bring things to this discussion.
Jason.
Let's open up the floor here for anyone that's muted. If we want to talk about specific issues. Something we didn't put on the agenda that we want to discuss now. Good time.
Okay, I'll go.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just had a question about what you said earlier about NPM install. Would that work for Cordova?
Sorry, can you say it again?
So I asked about NPM install because you mentioned removing all dependencies in package.json.
Yeah.
And I was asking if that would work for Cordova, like all the native
So this is the contentious issue that we want to discuss. Essentially, if all your dependencies are in package.json and you did npm install, that wouldn't do the Cordova plugin add or Cordova platform add, right? It would just fetch your dependency. But the actual installing into your Cordova project would still have to be a second step. So the solution that I was thinking could work was that since Cordova Prepare, Jason, I'm just going to I hope that's okay. Since Cordova Prepare does a restore, essentially what I thought would be possible is you would do an npm install. It would fetch all your dependencies you have listed in package.json into your node modules directory, and then you would do Cordova Prepare. And then Prepare would go through and see that you have these plugins and platforms, assuming that they're already, Prepare could potentially parse through your package.json and see which plugins and platforms you're installing, and then essentially install them. Essentially doing a restore, but without having to fetch because it's already been fetched. But I think there was a good issue that got brought up where we already have all this new logic for fetching plugins, versions of plugins that work with your projects. And if we allow everyone to just start installing via npm install, then we lose that logic. And I don't think we should just throw away that logic. I think that logic is actually an improvement for Cordova, where if you npm install, if you Cordova plugin add a plugin, it gets the right version now. It gets a version that's compatible. And I think that's important to keep. I mean, there's workarounds there that we could do too, but this is where the discussion needs to happen. We're not going to step away from installing plugins and platforms with Cordova because we need that. We need that for dependency management because we have our own dependency management in relation to native files. NPM, we haven't been able to rely on NPM's dependency management for us, and I don't think we will be able to. But it's still nice to, I think, have dependencies in package.json that are very visible for anyone who's familiar with package.json. It will allow us to remove a lot of code in Cordova lib, where we essentially wrote all of this saving and restoring code that we don't necessarily need anymore. We hopefully won't need anymore. So once the proposal's out, we'll all have to discuss on this issue a bit more. That's the gist of it. There's a lot of things that are still in the air.
Okay, if I can have one request and only one request, I'd like installing plugins and platforms to be a one-step process as opposed to two. So if I have to do npm install and then I have to do Cordova prepare just to get the plugin to work, that's not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, yeah.
But you're fine if it's still Cordova plugin add.
Yeah, totally. Like if it's just one step, then yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We don't really want two steps here. Okay. Any other questions or concerns or other new features you want to discuss? I know Karen's working on a config feature. I don't know. Maybe she wants to talk about that.
Sure. I've been working with Richard from Microsoft on that, and I've got most of it working. Basically, we're going to have a separate tag in plugin XML that'll handle adding attributes to the XML files. And there'll be two modes, one for merge and one for overwrite. So that's mostly completed. I'm working on testing right now, and hopefully I'll have a pull request open by tomorrow.
Sweet. Is this going to be just in plugin XML or also in config.xml?
Because I had to rework everything, I had implemented it for config XML, but now with the new implementation, it's for plugin XML so far. And I'll be working on the config XML next week.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. That'll be nice to have. I know Joe's very excited about that. He can close like 50 Jira issues. Cool.
Is there a Jira for that, just to add to the notes?
Yeah. I'll just put it in the chat box.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? I think Simon said something. He said his mic's not on. What's that about?
Yeah, he just said that he wants nightlies posted to the mailing list and
not Slack.
Well, his mailing list for sure.
Mailing
Slack
list for
is
sure.
negotiable.
Okay. Cool. I can't think of anything else. Anyone else want to add anything, or can we wrap this up?
I was just going to throw one thing out there. I already socialized it a little bit on the list in Jira, but the new the GitHub mirroring is up for the new screen orientation plugin. So that's moving along.
Cool.
Excellent. Yeah, I know Suraj from our team is very interested in that plugin. So if you can share that link, I guess it's just on Apache. I'll just point them to it.
I'll just add to the notes. Yeah, it's just, it's on Apache. It's just Cordova plugin screen orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's really just adopting, the existing third party that's based on an old version of the spec. And, I just was working with that author to bring it in and get all of his open issues triaged and basically closed most of them and moved some of them over to Apache Jira, but
yeah,
that's done. And the next step's going to be to update the spec and do a 2.0 release that's based on the updated version of the spec.
Nice. Have you been added as a maintainer on npm for the plugin?
Not yet. I asked him to add you, actually.
Okay.
So that didn't happen yet, but I know he's going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, the last sort of administrative step.
Yeah, and then we'll have to start including it in the release process.
Yeah, it'll be a little while before it's ready for a release.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good. Okay, other than Jesse?
We should do this more often so we can get better at it and getting it started too.
That was not easy.
Should we aim for a month from now and move to our actual monthly hangouts?
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are important.
Do we want to talk about Cordova face-to-face? I think we talked about it a little bit.
Face-to-face?
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Remember we proposed it? Having a face-to-face?
Yeah. Where? Did we?
That's how far we got.
Yeah, we should eventually do a face-to-face again soon. Those are super valuable as well.
In the fall.
In the fall. We could go to ApacheCon EU in Spain. Let's all meet in Spain. Maybe we could host it in San Francisco, for sure.
I mean,
yep.
The other team's travel budget.
+1 to Spain. Nice, Julio.
We're all staying at your house.
Yeah, we can host it in San Francisco. Let's bring that discussion back to the list and try to get it going again. Yeah, and then we'll send out a doodle for doing this next month. And then if we get into our calendars early, maybe we can get a few more people to come out as well. Attend and participate. Cool. All right, well, thank you everyone for calling in. I don't know if we have anything else. Nice to meet some new faces, see some new faces. Yeah, see you everybody online. Take care.
Thanks for setting it up, Jesse and Steve.
No worries.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.